Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a subject that's pretty close to home for a lot of you, and that is supporting a partner with a chronic illness. We've got a fantastic podcast episode packed with insights, and we're going to pull out some of the most valuable nuggets for you guys. It's a sensitive topic, so we're going to approach it with care. But trust me, there's some surprisingly practical takeaways here that you can start using right away. You might even be surprised to discover just how much this topic can teach us about relationships in general, even beyond the context of illness.
Absolutely. Chronic illness really, often throws a wrench in the works. It forces couples to kind of reevaluate and adapt their dynamics. The source material we're diving into today does a brilliant job of highlighting those ripple effects of chronic illness on a relationship.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that jumped out at me is just the sheer importance of flexibility. I mean, we all know that chronic illness can be unpredictable, but this episode really made me think about how much flexibility is needed, not just with schedules, but with our emotional responses too.
That's such a crucial point. Think about it. When your partner is dealing with fluctuating symptoms, plans can change in an instant. One day, a fun outing might be totally manageable, and the next, a quiet night in becomes a necessity. It's about adapting to the ebbs and flows of the illness and understanding that sometimes the best laid plans need to be tossed aside.
It's like learning to dance with uncertainty, isn't it?
Exactly. And that dance requires a rock-solid foundation of open communication. The podcast really emphasizes this idea of a two-way street. When it comes to sharing feelings and needs, it's not just about the partner with the illness expressing what they're going through. It's equally important for the supporting partner to feel comfortable sharing their own experiences without guilt or fear of burdening their loved one.
I think that's where so many people struggle, right? Wanting to be supportive, but also feeling overwhelmed or unsure how to express their own needs. The podcast had this fantastic tip that I think everyone can benefit from. Simply asking your partner, "How are you feeling today?" It sounds so basic, but it's such a powerful way to show up and stay attuned to their ever-changing needs. What do you think?
It's simple, but it's profound. It opens the door for an honest conversation, and it reminds us that every day can bring new challenges and triumphs. And equally important, it underscores the importance of boundaries. When we encourage open communication, we also need to create space for both partners to voice their needs and limits. This isn't about drawing harsh lines in the sand. It's about recognizing that supporting a partner with chronic illness can be incredibly demanding, both emotionally and practically, and that acknowledging those demands is crucial for the well-being of both individuals.
It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first before assisting others on a plane. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right. Exactly. And that brings us to another vital aspect highlighted in the podcast, becoming an informed ally. The more you understand your partner's specific condition, the better equipped you'll be to offer meaningful support.
And they offer some great suggestions for doing just that. Reading up on the condition, attending doctor's appointments together, even exploring support groups. But they also caution against making assumptions based solely on research, which I thought was a great point.
Absolutely. Every individual experiences illness in their own way. What you read in a textbook or online might not reflect your partner's unique reality. It's about approaching this learning process with humility and recognizing that your partner is the ultimate expert on their own experience.
It's about learning with them, not just about them. And that takes us back to the idea of flexibility, doesn't it? Being open to new information, adapting our understanding as our partner's needs evolve, and realizing that this is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
And that journey will undoubtedly have its share of bumps along the way.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate those rough patches? Well, the podcast offers some really valuable insights into that as well.
It's funny, as we're exploring these ideas, it strikes me that so much of this advice applies to any relationship, even those not directly affected by chronic illness.
Oh, it's true. The core principles we've been discussing, open communication, empathy, flexibility, self-care, those are the cornerstones of any healthy, thriving relationship. Chronic illness might amplify the need for these things,
Right.
but they're fundamentally important for everyone.
Absolutely. And one area where these principles really come into play is with that concept of being an informed ally. We touched on it earlier. But the podcast really delves into how that education goes beyond just understanding the medical facts.
Right. It's about grasping the emotional and social impact of chronic illness as well. It's recognizing the invisible challenges that your partner might be facing, the fatigue, the pain, the emotional roller coaster that might not always be apparent on the surface.
It's like learning to see beyond the visible symptoms and tuning into those subtle shifts in energy or mood. Because let's be honest, chronic illness doesn't just impact the body, It impacts the mind and spirit as well.
And it impacts the relationship dynamic. For example, your partner might have less energy for social activities or hobbies that they once enjoyed. Understanding those limitations, not as personal rejections, but as consequences of the illness, can make a world of difference in how you approach those situations.
It's about adjusting expectations and finding new ways to connect and enjoy each other's company, even if it looks different than it used to. And sometimes it means simply being present and listening without trying to fix things or offer unsolicited advice.
That's where active listening becomes so crucial. It's not just about hearing the words your partner is saying, but really tuning into the emotions behind them, noticing their body language, their tone of voice, even the things they don't say.
It's funny, we've been talking about communication, but I think sometimes the most powerful communication happens in the silence, in those moments of shared understanding where words aren't even necessary.
That's beautifully put. It's about creating a space where your partner feels safe to be vulnerable, knowing that they'll be met with compassion and understanding, not judgment or pressure to get better.
And that brings us back to the importance of flexibility. Because chronic illness, by its very nature, is unpredictable. Symptoms can flare up unexpectedly, plans can change at the drop of a hat, and the emotional landscape can shift from day to day.
It's about learning to ride those waves of uncertainty with grace and resilience, recognizing that control is often an illusion, especially when it comes to chronic illness, and that sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to surrender to the present moment, however messy or challenging it might be.
And to meet ourselves and our partners with compassion in those moments. Because let's face it, chronic illness can be frustrating, not just for the person experiencing it, but for their partner as well. There might be times when you feel resentful, overwhelmed, or even helpless. And that's okay.
It's human. What matters is how we choose to respond to those feelings. Do we let them create distance and resentment in the relationship? Or do we use them as opportunities to deepen our understanding, strengthen our connection, and practice radical compassion?
That's such a powerful distinction. It's about choosing connection over isolation, even when it's hard. Because ultimately, that connection, that sense of togetherness,
Yeah,
is what will sustain us through the tough times.
exactly. And that's where the idea of cultivating positivity comes in. And I want to emphasize that this isn't about toxic positivity or denying the reality of the situation. It's about intentionally seeking out moments of joy, gratitude, and connection, even amidst the difficulties.
It's like remembering to water the flowers instead of focusing on the weeds.
Yes, it's about celebrating those small victories, whether it's a good day, symptom-wise, a successful doctor's appointment, or simply sharing a laugh together.
It's about choosing hope over despair and recognizing that even in the face of adversity, life can still be rich and meaningful. But it's not always easy, is it? There will be days when it feels impossible to find that silver lining.
And on those days, it's okay to lean on your support system, whether it's family, friends, a therapist, or a support group. Remember, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It's about recognizing that you don't have to go through this alone.
It's about allowing others to hold you up when you need it most. And speaking of support, let's shift gears a bit and talk about another important aspect of supporting a partner with chronic illness: self-care. The podcast really emphasizes this, and for good reason.
Because, as we've been saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of your own physical, emotional, and mental well-being is not selfish. It's essential to being able to show up for your partner in a meaningful way.
And they offer some practical tips for doing just that. Setting aside time for hobbies, connecting with friends, spending time in nature, getting enough sleep. All of these things can help replenish your energy reserves and prevent burnout.
And don't underestimate the power of professional help. Therapy can provide a safe and supportive space to process your emotions, develop coping mechanisms, and gain valuable insights into yourself and your relationship.
It's like having a coach in your corner, helping you navigate the challenges and celebrate the triumphs along the way. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to remind our listeners that this is a journey, not a destination.
There will be ups and downs, twists and turns, moments of joy and moments of despair. But through it all, the foundation of open communication, empathy, flexibility, and self-care will serve as your compass, guiding you towards a more resilient, fulfilling, and loving relationship.
Welcome back to our deep dive. As we approach the final part of this conversation, I'm struck by the sheer resilience of couples facing chronic illness. It's not easy. but there's a strength that emerges from navigating those challenges together.
Absolutely. The podcast we're discussing really emphasizes that supporting a partner with chronic illness isn't about finding a quick fix or a magical solution. It's an ongoing process, a journey that unfolds over time. It's about learning, adapting, and growing together, both individually and as a couple.
Yeah, and I think that's a key takeaway for our listeners. There will inevitably be ups and downs, unexpected turns, moments of triumph and moments of despair. But what we've been exploring in this deep dive are the tools, the mindset, and
Right.
the strategies that can help you navigate those twists and turns with more grace and resilience.
Exactly. And those tools, those core principles of open communication, empathy, flexibility, and self-care, they become the bedrock upon which your relationship can weather the storms. It's like building a house. You need a strong foundation to withstand the elements. And these principles provide that foundation for your relationship.
It's about creating a safe and supportive space where both partners feel seen, heard, and understood, a space where vulnerability is met with compassion and challenges are faced together as a team. Because when we face adversity together, when we choose to support each other through thick and thin, we emerge from the experience transformed.
Our empathy deepens. Our love is tested and refined. Our resilience grows. We discover a wellspring of strength within ourselves and our relationship that we might not have known existed.
And that's a powerful message to carry with us, isn't it? Not just for couples facing chronic illness, but for all of us on the journey of love and relationships, because life throws curveballs at all of us in different ways. And it's the strength of our connections, the depth of our empathy, and our commitment to showing up for each other that allows us to navigate those challenges and emerge stronger on the other side.
Beautifully said. The podcast episode concludes with a message of hope and possibility, reminding us that relationships can not only survive, but thrive even amidst the complexities of chronic illness. Love, compassion, and shared purpose can create a sanctuary of strength and resilience, even in the face of life's most difficult challenges.
And that's where I want to leave our listeners today, with that sense of hope, possibility, and empowerment. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to pose a final thought-provoking question, inspired by the source material but not directly addressed. How can couples facing chronic illness create shared rituals or practices that foster connection and resilience, even on the toughest days?
It's something to ponder, to discuss with your partner, and perhaps to experiment with as you navigate your unique journey. Because even amidst the complexities, there's always room for creativity, innovation, and the discovery of new ways to nurture love, connection, and hope.
Remember, you're not alone. There's a community of support out there, ready to embrace you with understanding and encouragement. Keep reaching out, keep connecting, keep sharing your stories, and keep believing in the power of love to heal, to strengthen, and to illuminate even the darkest of times.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep